Welcome to Purpose or Delusion. I am your host, Brendan Foery. This podcast is designed to spark thoughtful conversations with people who are actively working in the entertainment industry. The following guest is an example of a creative, self-sufficient problem solver who is obsessively devoted to their craft. Welcome to Purpose or Delusion.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Full disclosure, Lisa and I are dating. However, that is not why she's here, nor is that what we're going to be talking about. I just wanted to note that. So, this is Lisa Starrett. Can you tell me what you do? What do you do?
I am an actress and model, and I am also a psychology student.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel weird saying that out loud. It's
Why?
still hard for me to say I am an actress.
Why is it hard?
It was always something that, especially out here, people give you that look. And so when I first moved out here, I never told people I was an actress because I didn't want that look people give you. And now that I actually am a full-time actress, that is my career, I still have people assume that I'm like a wannabe actress, and which is still an actress. That's a different tangent.
Yeah.
I won't go there. But so I still have a hard time saying out loud I am an actress.
Why do you think that connotation is? Just because there's so many people out here trying to do that? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think so.
And why does that affect you so much? Like, does it matter what... Is it... Who is that? Like, who are those people who have that connotation? And does that matter? Does that affect you?
It depends. I know that in certain situations when I haven't said I am an actress, where I've said I'm a psychology student and this is what I'm doing, it has started conversations and started professional relationships or friendships. And conversations where I start out with I am an actress, that relationship hasn't gone anywhere.
Interesting. So I'm excited to get into both of those wings, because psychology student and an actress. I'm excited to talk about that. But first, let's go back to the beginning. Okay. And how did you get into those fields?
Okay. Acting started when I was very little. 3rd grade was the very first play I was ever in, and I did it every single year since. And I quit theater when I graduated high school and told myself I needed to stop acting and pursue a real career. And that's when I started college doing psychology. I want to one day work with post-traumatic stress, people who are survivors of war and human trafficking.
What?
I don't know. I get shy talking about myself. But after a year of being in college, maybe even less than a year of being in college, I just missed acting so much. I had that itch. And so I found an agency in Utah, and I signed with them I thought I'd do a commercial here and there, keep the...
And that's where you grew up, in Utah?
Yeah. Okay. Fun fact, I'm from Utah. And so I just figured I'd keep the hobby alive with that. And they are the ones who dragged me into modeling. I was adamant my entire life that I didn't want to be a model. And
Why?
I believed the stereotype that modeling was very surface level and people tore each other up and were cruel and
is that a
models were mean.
Is that a Utah stereotype, or do you think that's a overall stereotype?
I mean, it's hard to know because, I grew up in Utah, so that's the extent. I don't know what people in Nebraska say about models, or in Indonesia what they say about models. But I know in Utah that is the assumption, and I believed it, and so I was just like, I will never be a model. I won't do that. And money started getting tight, and my agency kept trying to send me to modeling auditions, and then finally over the summer I said, I'll go to one, and I booked that one. And then I went to 6 more auditions that week and booked every single one, and I said, okay, maybe I can do a career in this. And when I worked with everyone, it was the exact opposite of what I thought it would be. Every single girl that I worked with was one of the kindest, most brilliant women I've ever met in my life.
Mm.
And even out here in LA, I find the same thing, where the women who are working as models are brilliant and kind and support each other. And the entire team, too. I've never had someone tell me, you're too fat, you need to lose weight. Never had someone critique me on the way I look and say that I'll never make it and stuff. I've had people be real with me and say it's really hard, and people do look for very specific looks and, you know, stuff like that. But it's always come from an empathetic and professional place. The only thing that I have turned down because it felt wrong was I was offered to do international modeling. And that is an entirely different business where they get to take advantage of the girls because they're girls who are living the dream and modeling internationally. So they get paid almost nothing. They get no benefits. They are treated terribly. And they are expected to not eat, to work out. And like, I was told that. I was told you need to be these specific measurements that are, for my body type, is just unattainable. My bone structure doesn't allow for the measurements that they said you need to be at this size or we will send you home. And I said, no, I won't do that. And that was one of the big decisions of my LA career, was turning down this international modeling opportunity. And I had someone who was influential in my life in Utah. He was my agent back in Utah. And he branched off from my agency and approached me and said, would you want to do international modeling? He put in a lot of work and met with me one-on-one several times to make me comfortable with the international modeling thing. And when I decided to turn it down, he has not talked to me since and has said some not flattering things about me. But he was just very disappointed and upset that he feels like I led him on and made him put in all this work and then change my mind when I was just doing the homework. And after I did the homework, I decided that it wasn't the right thing. But this is one of the times in my life where I actually said no without worrying. Well, I did worry a lot about what other people thought, but
yeah. Is it hard to say no in this industry?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Do you find it harder in Utah or LA? Is there a difference?
Utah, there's not as many opportunities to say no to. And they are ones that you want to say no to more often because the things that get picked up in Utah are more independent. They're more companies just getting started or odd companies. And so a lot of the commercials out there are not ones you're not excited about. Whereas out here, it's more glitzy and glamorous and
there's a lot more opportunity.
Yes, exactly.
What brought you to LA? So you started getting traction modeling, not acting, right? Or not as much acting in Utah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Is the modeling part? Because I know, because we've talked about this. You don't want to. You still don't really want to be a model. You do it. It's kind of your day job. You love acting.
Exactly. Yeah.
You love acting. You love psychology. So was the modeling what brought you to Los Angeles?
Yes.
And when did you come?
In part, I came out just over 2.5 years ago. So the executive director of Ford Models, Natalie Smith, now Natalie Knutson, happily married, and living the recluse life in a beautiful...
And by the way, Ford Models, because I didn't know this at one point, I thought Ford, the motor company, had a branch of models that they had. Ford Models is a modeling agency, a massive modeling agency.
Yes. Fun fact that I learned, it was actually started by the daughter of Ford.
Okay, well that makes sense.
Or daughters. I think it was 2 daughters created.
That's cool.
Yeah. Anyways, Natalie Knutson, incredible woman, executive director of Ford Models for 16 years. And she happened to have my profile shown to her by someone I went to high school with. I probably sent like 2 sentences to this girl in high school. We just always had separate circles. But somehow my profile came up to Natalie Knutson and she said, who is this? I want to meet her. And so when she was in Utah visiting family, she had me come meet with her, and she said, I'm retired now. I just retired, but I see something in you. She hadn't even seen my book, but it was within the first 5 minutes of having a conversation with me where she said, I see something in you, and I see a desire, and I see an intelligence. And that's what's important to me. And so she arranged several meetings for me with modeling agencies and acting agencies out here. And so I came out when I was 19 with my mom and did a tour interviewing with these acting and modeling agencies. And they all said, we really liked talking to you. Let us know when you actually move to LA. And so a few months later, I moved to LA and hit them up. And that's how I got my first agency with Wilhelmina.
What did your parents think? Like, your mom came out here the first time.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
They have been incredible with it. Before I moved out here, I was getting cold feet.
Was LA ever on the radar?
No.
Before, you never wanted to move to Los Angeles?
No. It was a pipe dream. That's a phrase, right?
Yeah.
And so I never thought I would move out.
Like, when you're a kid and you want to be an actress, you think about moving to Los Angeles. But other than that, there was no...
I don't even know if I'd ever thought about it as a kid. I'd never done the research. I just knew that I really liked acting. And so moving out to LA was very interesting, and I almost didn't do it. I remember sitting in the kitchen and telling my mom, you know what, I should finish school before I go to LA. I need to finish this part of my life and then I can go out. And I was waiting for her to support that. I expected her to jump on it and say, yes, stay here with me, because she wanted me to stay home. But she said, school can always wait. This opportunity can't wait. And so I came out.
That's amazing.
I was so selfless and loving and supportive of her. And I am thankful every day for her doing that.
That's so awesome. So how did you balance school and working out here? Because you moved out here and pretty quickly are gaining traction. How do you balance school and
I
acting?
deferred for the first three semesters that I was out here. I just kept deferring. And then after 3 semesters, Utah State University, my college sent me an email saying, you have to come back or else we will drop you. And so I went back fall semester of last year to placate them, and found out that instead of having 2 years left as I was supposed to, I could have graduated that semester. I just accumulated a lot of credits while I was there. And I was like, I'm not ready to graduate. There's so many things I need to juggle right now. And so I almost finished last fall. And then I said, I need to come back out to LA. I've just felt opportunities passing me by. And so I talked to the university about deferring 1 more semester, and they actually dropped me. I got an email saying, we removed you from Utah State University. If you want to finish, you will have to reapply.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
My heart dropped to my toes when I read that email. I immediately contacted them and said, hey, there is a clause within Utah State University that says for work and missions, students can defer up to 4 semesters. I am working in Los Angeles, and I sent lots of screenshots of checks that I've received from various jobs that I've done. And they said, okay, fine, but don't you dare defer any more semesters. And another reason why they're being so strict, I have a full ride scholarship there. So they take me being there very seriously. So I deferred spring semester, and then I was like, I can't go back in fall. And it's fall right now. I don't know when you guys are going to be listening to this. But since I only had a few classes left to graduate, I found a way to get every single one online. And I have an incredible advisor for the research project that I'm working on, where she works around me being out of state, and we do video calls. And it's just worked out perfectly this semester. So right now I'm working out here in LA, I'm doing acting and modeling, and I'm finishing up
It's a
my
lot.
last semester of school. Yeah.
One of the reasons I was excited to have you on is because by the way, this is the 5th episode. We are halfway through the first season. So that's exciting. But most of the guests on have either gone to college for a little bit or went to college and kind of been like, it didn't really help me. And also kind of the future guests, that's also kind of their story. So you were I think the only guest that is maintaining both and loves both. Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of creative people go to college because they have to. Their parents make them, or they feel like they need to do that to have a safety net or whatever that reason is.
Yeah.
Or there's people like me who are like, screw college.
Yeah.
And totally don't value it.
Yeah.
For myself.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to talk about like that balance and why that balance exists for you.
Yeah, well, and the professions are so different. Like, I think about it from a pitching yourself perspective. Anyone who's gone to like acting school or music school and studied for years, if they want to be a pop artist, people don't care that you've gone to college for music.
Correct.
What matters is the work that you've put in and the connections you've built. If you spend 4 years in college and haven't built any actual connections, you've wasted 4 years. Mm-hmm. And psychology, on the other hand, or becoming a doctor, because I need to become a doctor, no one will work with me if I am not a doctor. Right. That's just the reality of the situation. You're not going to have a surgeon giving you brain surgery who isn't a doctor. I think that that's an important difference, is the perception of the customers.
There has to be a contextualization of the end goal. So like,
exactly.
How, what is your end goal and what do you need to achieve that end goal? Mm-hmm.
In psychology, I didn't play with the idea of until I was 17, 18. When I took a psychology class my junior year of high school. That was when I went, I like this. It was my worst class. I struggled in it so much. Mm-hmm. But I liked it. And that was the first little feeler in my head of saying, I can make a career out of this. And then realizing that like all my interests that have just been intrigues about when I learned about human trafficking and when I learned about the high rates of suicide in veterans and when I learned about the rates of sexual assault in Utah, in my like religious conservative hometown of Utah, that 1 in 3 women are raped in their life. I was like, what? But those were all just like things that I knew about and I researched, and I never considered a career in it. This is getting, I didn't expect to go here. I had one of my best friends die suddenly. And I admired him so much because I would pray to God that if I could help in my entire life half the people that he helped in his few years, that would be a life well lived. And those 3 things led to me deciding to major in psychology in college, which was not a popular decision in my family.
Why?
Both my parents are engineers, and they expected my whole life that I would want to become an engineer too, because I loved math, I loved science, I was a huge nerd.
On the track.
Yeah, exactly. And when I originally applied to college, I applied as a dual major in mechanical engineering and political science. Because I had no idea what the F I actually wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I just knew that I needed to be an engineer, but I also knew that I would hate being an engineer. And so I did political science, trying to think like maybe I can get into politics, I can be an ambassador and work with other countries. And I just realized that was the stupidest idea. And I had several counselors at Utah State say these majors are completely opposite of each other. You'd have to be here at least 6 years to get all the credits you need to be able to do this dual major. And I was like, why am I putting in so much work for something that I don't actually care about?
Yeah.
And I finally said, hey Mom, hey Dad, I think I'm actually gonna major in psychology instead. And that resulted in daily fights with my dad for several months.
Why is that such a big deal, though?
He sees it as a fake science, as a floofy
Because it's
career.
so new?
That's what I keep telling him. Like, Dad, this is actually exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Psychology is brand new. Psychology as a science is less than a century old. I think that's so exciting. So yes, there is a lot of floof, but it's changing so much. And so my minor is in computer science because I was seeing ahead of this curve of integrating neuroscience and technology with psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the universities I'm looking into for graduate school are catching on to this track too, and they have an entire new field called cognitive science that is this integration of neuroscience and looking at the biology and sparks going on in the brain and how it relates to our outer emotional and physical manifestations.
So, it's safe to say that you're a smart person.
I don't know.
It's not only safe to say you're an incredibly smart and intelligent person when it comes to the amount of knowledge you've learned about this specific field and about surrounding fields, and also in regards to your business. You're incredibly business savvy and very in tune with what's going on and intuitive. You're a good negotiator, and so you have kind of a whole package of like a lot of people are street smart and a lot of people are book smart, and you have a nice combination of both of them.
That is incredible to hear. Knowing me 2 years ago, you would have said this girl is book smart. I was not street smart whatsoever, but I realized how important of a skill was, so I've been
let's talk about that, because
so
I want to talk about for people who are getting into modeling, acting, anything in the entertainment industry, especially women. I want to talk about the street smart part of it. I want to talk about how you know what a good deal is, how you go about things and not be taken advantage of. And so what were some of the lessons you learned, and how did you learn those skills?
Trial and error.
Good.
I've definitely been taken advantage of a lot. Not like taken advantage of, but, done projects that I should not have agreed to or gotten paid too little. Or I just found out that a shoot I did, the photographer put the photos into a book and is selling the book. And I have no idea how to address that. I never signed a contract giving rights away, but I don't know how to. Or I've had photographers upload our sessions onto stock image sites, and so now these images of me are out in the world and I have no control over that, and it's really scary.
How does somebody know? Because I can imagine somebody who just like in music as well, somebody who's new to the industry in music or modeling or acting might see that as a huge opportunity, like, oh my gosh, my pictures are everywhere. Why is that not okay?
It's
without getting too detailed.
I guess the best way to describe it is money. Value does come down to money. And if you're in something that looks like it's cheap, people don't want to hire you for higher end things. And that's a hard lesson I've had to learn, because I always, especially when you're low on money and you need to make rent, you want to start taking any opportunity that comes your way. Or you want to start getting your name out there, and so you'll do all these trade shoots. And I fully endorse trade shoots if you do it with the right people.
Every shoot you do is building your brand. And your brand is what's going to get you your next shoot. Exactly.
And I also firmly, back to the trade shoot thing, I love the 10,000 hour rule, where you will never be a master in something until you've done it for 10,000 hours. And so you need to constantly be working. If you're not actually getting hired for things, you still need to be practicing. It's just like basketball players. They don't just show up for the game. They are practicing every single day. And so I believe in trade shoots and in doing improv with you and just filming random things, because you need to just be constantly practicing, so when it's game time, you are ready to go.
A common theme, I think, in every episode has been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has talked about, we've all talked about, you have to take action, you have to start doing. It may not necessarily be the right thing. You may take a shoot that is totally wrong and brands you in a bad way, and you realize after, and you have to problem solve and figure it out and put out fires. And don't purposely be ignorant in your action, but a common theme has been you need to take the first jump, and you need to at least keep walking if it's just baby steps.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear you say that.
And I guess I didn't tie it. I did the thing again where I went off on a different topic.
That's okay.
With not taking jobs that, like, not doing stock image jobs, that, like, getting your image out there isn't what's important. It's, like, what the value attached to it is. And so if a company is looking at an ad you did that's clearly a very cheap ad, they're going to say, we can hire her for a very low amount.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't start drawing that line and saying, this is my minimum rate, I will not work for hire for less than this, you will not move up in how much you're making. And that took me probably 3 years to learn. And now that I finally am, and I am saying no to jobs, some of them will come back and say, actually we accept that rate. And I know of one shoot in particular, they were very sneaky in the way that they gave everyone their checks afterwards, and they gave me kind of it privately.
Interesting.
And I found out later I was paid $325 more for 4 hours. Everyone else had to work 8 hours. I worked 4 hours and made 4 times as much.
How?
As
Why?
they did. Because I said this is my rate for 4 hours. And he said, I don't have the budget for that. And I said, that's okay. And I turned it down. And he came back a few days later and said, I really want you. You're clearly going to get the shots that I need.
Mm-hmm.
So, I will do it.
And by the way, that's incredible. By the way, going back to the skill thing, the 10,000 hour thing, something a well-practiced person can get done in 4 hours may be way more beneficial than someone who's there for double the time and just isn't getting the right stuff. And that goes for anything, whether it's modeling or acting or music.
I heard a statistic where it's like only 10% of auditions you'll go to, that role actually gets cast from the audition. The auditions are like the just in case the direct offers say no. And so you need to be talking to people.
Yeah.
If only 10% of the auditions you go to get hired, and thousands of people are going to that one audition, like, you're not going to land an audition for a long time.
And just in the previous episode with Jason, we were talking about relationships versus networking. Like building genuine relationships, like what you're talking about, well-rounded conversations, talking to people. Like if you're at a shoot or at a writing session, you don't just talk about writing music or just talk about, what was the last shoot you did. Like, you have genuine conversations and you build genuine connections and relationships with people. And then, what you're saying, where, like, most of this industry, music, acting, all of it, and in a lot of other industries as well, is word of mouth.
Yep. On that, I want to say also with the connections and the networking, because people go, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but I feel...
Go for it.
Awkward saying this. I feel successful out here. I mean, I booked a supporting role in a major film within 2 years of living in LA, so I feel like I'm doing okay. I got to quit my day job and do acting and modeling full time. So I think I'm doing okay out here, so hopefully I have enough authority to be talking on
Here's
this.
the thing. I'm so happy you brought this up. Did you have a... Want to finish that sentence? Okay, I'm really happy you brought that up because I've been very... purposeful and careful in how I'm setting this up. And the truth is, everybody who is on here and who is talking and who because I want to avoid sounding preachy and sounding like we're like a bunch of young people talking about a bunch of stuff we don't actually know anything about. And the truth is, we're all talking from experience. We've all done the 10,000 hours or lots of hours, and we've spent time, and we're talking about our experiences. And so I am fully going to take, like, if at any point there's anybody going like, you know, these people are, you know, talking about something they know nothing about or whatever happens, I'm going to take the hit on that and be like, no, everyone I've had on this show is talking from experience, has spent, you know, blood, sweat, and tears and so much time, and 100% has the right to talk about their experience and talk about their successes. And just in the last episode about how to be living in Los Angeles, to be working in the area that you love, creating the stuff you love creating, that is a success on such a high level already. And then to be, you know, on top of that, to have things that are recognized publicly, that's a whole nother level of success. And so it is a huge thing. And I want to be creating more of a culture that is supporting and excited when young people or anybody is just doing the thing they love, even if they're just, you know, quote, scraping by. That's so successful. And like I wanna like uplift that and encourage that. That's my tangent on that.
I like that tangent. And so people who tell me this advice, they might have gone on to become very successful, but many of the people who have told me this advice I'm about to say have ended up having to move back home. And the advice that these people tend to give is that you need to network to improve your career. You need to be strategic in the way you talk to people. And so these people are if you go to a party, they are the ones who say, hey, what's your name? What do you do? And if they can't instantly see them getting something from you, they move on to the next person. And a lot of people told me that's what I need to do.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of people? Casting directors, fellow actors?
Fellow actors.
Okay.
Yeah. Or models and stuff. And that never sit well with me, and that just isn't my personality. I just want to make genuine connections with people, back to my psychology passions. So I've had a lot of people tell me I am not going to succeed because of the way that I do things. And I said, okay, you might be right, but I'm going to keep doing this because it feels right. And so not making connections to get something for yourself. Making connections because you genuinely just want to help the other person. And again, that's what LA is about. I expected LA to be awful. It was the same stereotype I had for modeling I had for LA. I had a preacher in Utah look directly at me and say that LA is the seat of the devil. That is what Utah sees LA as. My dad and my brother refused to come visit me out here for 2.5 years because they think LA is the worst place in the entire world. And I've only had the opposite experience. I've only met people who are trying to pull each other up the ladder instead of trying to take someone down. I have met one person who was just very bitter to everything.
And that has to do with who you surround yourself with. Like, I'm assuming you take every precaution and proactive decision to surround yourself with only the best people. People who you have that authentic connection with, and people who are real, and avoid the people who are like, hi, what do you do? What can you do for me? Because we've talked about that. We've been in conversation with people who are like, I'm not friends with people who don't have something to offer me.
Yeah.
Like,
that was an awkward dinner. Yeah.
So the theme here is give without expectation, without compromising yourself and your that could be a dangerous thing in LA. Okay, so first, build genuine relationships. Give without expectation. And just be yourself. Be authentic and be who you are and do your thing. And that's the other thing, like taking care of your people. Like if you're putting together a shoot and like or whatever it is, collaborating, like take care of your people and do stuff. Like it's such a team environment out here, and I love what you're saying about LA and about the connotation and even as something as simple as traffic. I did lots of research before moving to Los Angeles, and because of all the research I did, traffic doesn't bother me that much actually, because like, yeah, it's bad and it sucks, but there's such a connotation and negative connotation around it that like once you actually get out here, it's like, oh, things aren't actually as bad as they seem. And yes, LA has a terrible underbelly, and yes, this industry has a terrible underbelly. However, if you only look at that, that's all you're gonna see. If you look at the people who are out here building relationships and creating and doing all of this, and working as a team, it's really exciting.
Yeah, I used to, if you start looking at TV production companies, say like any Adam Sandler movie, you're gonna know half the cast because they've been in the other Adam Sandler movies. It's just a group of friends who enjoy creating together. And even the bigger movies, like there was Jennifer Lawrence and what's his face? Plays the Guardians of the Galaxy, plays the raccoon.
Oh, Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper. Yeah. Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper did like 3 movies with each other within 2 years. That's not a coincidence. They weren't like the best fit for the role, but they worked together and they enjoyed working together. Mm-hmm. And the producer was the same person on those 3 films. Mm-hmm. And it was just, they were like, you know, who would be a good character for this? I know someone I would enjoy working with again. Mm-hmm. So just be someone that people enjoy working with. It's not about you, it's about everyone surrounding you.
Are you happy?
I'm very happy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. I have a unique perspective on life where I call it being optimistically pessimistic.
Okay.
Realist. And it's essentially like, I instinctually see the good in people and the situations, so I'm optimistic. I expect and plan for the worst to happen, and then I still have like this cutting through of, okay, but this is on average what happens. This will probably be what will happen, but I'm always prepared for the worst. And so when I moved out here, I told everyone, I was like, there's 3 possibilities. One, I'm gonna come out here, I'm gonna lose all my money within a few months, and I'm gonna move back to Utah. That was the one that I most expected to happen.
You most or they most?
I most. I most
okay.
Expected to lose all my money within a few months.
And you were okay with that failure? Mm-hmm. Good. Mm-hmm. Cool.
It took a while to become okay with that failure.
And your family was incredibly supportive?
Yeah, they were. And my dad made it clear that I was probably going to have that experience as well. And I was like, you know what, that's okay. I also had two people especially helped me get through it. At that time, I was going through a hard time and I was actually like seeing a therapist. Therapy is awesome, you guys. You don't have to like have a severe problem going on to go to a therapist and have them help. That's it. And she helped me because she was like, okay, so she had me go, worst case scenario, why are you so scared to go to LA? And I was like, because I'm going to lose all my money and I'm going to come back and I'm going to be a failure. And she was like, and then you'd start school again? And I was like, yeah. She's like, so what's the problem? And I was like,
that makes me so happy.
So true.
That makes me so happy.
And I had one other friend who said that he started several production businesses. Production companies are hard to get started. And he was like, I started them, and Utah's a hard industry to get work in. And he's like, we did good for a little while, and then it petered out. Or like his business associates left and stuff, and he's like, and then you just chalk it up to experience, and you get a job, and you save up money, and you try again.
There you go.
And I was like, oh, you're right. Like, losing all my money doesn't mean I'll be broke for the rest of my life. It means I need to start from square one, I need to get a job, I need to save back up again, and I can try again.
Do you enjoy that process?
I do. I really do. And I didn't get to option 2. So that was option 1. I was losing on. Option 2 was I'm going to be okay for the 1 semester that I was going to be out here. And then I'd come back spring semester. And then 3 was I'd actually get work and then I'd keep working. And that was the thing that I didn't think would happen.
And here you are.
Yeah, and here I am. But I had very concrete goals when I came out here. My goal was not, I'm going to become a famous actress. That's what everyone kept saying, you know, like, have fun in LA, remember when you're famous and stuff, and I kept being like, I don't want to be famous, that actually makes me uncomfortable, the thought of being famous. All I said was that I want to make enough money acting that I can live on. That was my goal, and to achieve that goal, I was going to take acting classes. So during those 3 months that I was going to lose all my money, I made sure to enroll in the best acting class in LA. Not only the best, but also the most reputable, because reputation does matter out here. And that's actually how I got with Wilhelmina. So I took an interview with them and I said, and I've enrolled to start in Leslie Kahn. Leslie Kahn is the name out here. And they said, Leslie Kahn, you're going to study with her. Okay, when you finish next month's acting class, because I started next month, they said, when you finish next month, come back. And they signed me in the room when I came back.
It's kind of like, I went to Harvard.
Exactly.
It's kind of having that.
And it's so much more reputable than saying, I got a master's in acting at this certain school. People don't care
Back to the
about
context
that.
situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Has
The
to be
context.
contextual.
People don't care about your degree. They care about who you're studying with right now, right here.
And what you've done.
Yeah, exactly. And like Leslie Kahn connects. I hadn't been with her for over a year, and she recommended me to a casting director who was looking for a specific look. And he reached out. He didn't reach out to other agents and stuff. He reached out to Leslie and said, who do you think would be good for this?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Relationships again.
Again. And working freaking hard. I'm a nerd. So I approached acting class as a nerd, and I did probably 20 hours of homework a week for this acting class, and I loved every second of it. And I put the work in, and I did end up leaving because I felt that I had learned everything that specific school would teach me in the moment, and I just started doing hands-on learning and writing and producing and being in things, and that's created opportunities as well.
When do you know it's time to move on from a specific circumstance?
You can never quite know, but I started leaving the class feeling like, okay, I knew that. It started just affirming what I knew instead of having those aha moments of being, oh, I hadn't thought about that before.
That's a good time where you need to say, okay, I'm a fish. I've grown. I need to go to a little bit of a bigger pond, and that's really important. That active moving, because otherwise you get complacent.
Yeah.
And I've struggled with getting complacent a lot in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of easy. I moved out here, knowing money wasn't really going to be an issue. I knew it might be a struggle, but I was like, I can make money. It's not. I'm an able-bodied human. It's not difficult to make money. And I kind of got complacent. Which is why I quit my day job, and now I don't have money. And that's exciting.
It's terrifying and exciting.
Yeah.
Oof, yeah.
What is the future that the next 5 years, 10 years look like for Lisa?
My favorite thing about the future is that I just know what's going to surprise me. All I can count on is the fact that I am going to be completely surprised once I get there. And I mean, like, I had no idea I'd meet you and be here a year and a half ago.
On a podcast.
Yeah.
Golly jeepers.
With a scented candle and green tea. And so 5 years down the road, I'm just expecting to be shocked as heck. Am I allowed to... I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, so I'm going to say shocked as heck.
Compared to our last episode, you are golden. Shout out Jason. I literally have to mark this specific episode as an explicit piece of content.
Really?
On the thing. Yeah. I've never had to do that before. I'm excited. It'll be fun.
But yeah, so I just plan to be shocked, and I plan to be pursuing something that I am excited about. So just being aware of your strengths, and then knowing that your weaknesses is not a static part of yourself. You can always grow. I was always a terrible runner. I didn't know how to run until this year. And Brendan is a great runner. And I was always like, I'm just never gonna be fast. And I accepted that. I didn't make my high school basketball team because I just accepted that I wasn't a fast runner. Instead of telling myself, I'm not fast right now, but I can improve. I always told people I have large bones, which makes it hard for my legs to move. And I thoroughly believed that. But then this past year, I just had this mind switch of just because I'm bad at something right now doesn't mean I will always be bad at it. And so I started sprinting and asking people what proper running form is. And turns out I just had terrible running form my whole life. Because I love my mom. I love you so much, Mom. She doesn't know how to run. Turns out all the things she told me to do with running turns out is the opposite of what is actually good form. And, all right, tie it back, Lisa. Tie it back. So, if you're bad at something, it doesn't mean you are always going to be bad at it. It just means you have to work on it.
Do you consider being an introvert a weakness?
I used to.
Okay.
I even, in job interviews, when they were like, what's your greatest weakness? I'd be like, I'm an introvert.
Oh, really?
It does take a lot of energy for me to talk to people. But through psychology, I've realized it's such a strength because I actually listen to people. And introversion is essentially your brain being ultra stimulated by the things around you. And so eye contact. I really struggle with eye contact, but nobody knows that because I practiced so hard to be good at it. And the reason I'm bad at eye contact is just because that is so much information being stimulated in my brain that I stop being able to focus on what the person is saying. And so it's easier for me to look away because I can hear and process what the person is saying. And so I think introversion is a strength because it makes me more observant. It makes me get extra excited about little things because that brain stimulation is going on. I don't need to be jumping off a cliff to get a dopamine high. I can get a dopamine high from lighting a candle and reading a book. Heck, screw the candle. I can get a dopamine high from reading a book. And so I think introversion makes me a very happy, people-loving person. People are very sympathetic towards me when I say that I'm an introvert. And they go, oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I get that all
That's
the time.
why I asked you that question because I knew your answer to it, but a lot of people do see that as a weakness.
It
And
was very disappointing in my
It's just
psychology
not.
class this year, where introversion is constantly the entire textbook that we're learning just only talks about the negatives of being an introvert. It was essentially extroversion is good, introversion is bad.
Really?
It was, and I was
So weird.
just so disappointed about it. I wanted to write the author and be like, hey, this doesn't feel appropriate, because when you have a spectrum, it doesn't mean one side is good, one side is bad. It just means that people are different and we're supposed to be different. That's the art of nature, is that you have variety. I don't think people appreciate that as much. But then I find other introverts, and when I say I am an introvert, that empowers them and they get really excited, and that actually starts an entire conversation and a connection on a deeper level, because they go, oh my gosh, I'm an introvert too, and I can never tell anyone, and I have to always put on this face. And then as soon as I am open about my vulnerabilities, don't just be vulnerable with everyone and share all your deepest, darkest secrets, that's weird, but just be in a friendly way vulnerable, and if you're feeling uncomfortable, it's okay to tell someone you're feeling uncomfortable. And just say, I'm so sorry if I'm coming across as awkward. I'm just an introvert and my brain went over here. And then they'll actually really enjoy that, because turns out everyone at the party feels awkward and is trying not to show it.
Yep.
And that was the most freeing thing I've discovered out here.
I think my brother Ethan said this once, and I forget what the context was or what it was, but he was just everybody's just a bunch of people trying to pretend like they're normal or something. I forget what the exact quote was, but
Exactly.
everyone has their own insecurities, everyone has their own stuff. I'm gonna call this last section of the last 10 minutes of this section is gonna be random advice with Lisa, because all of this is so good about the introvert stuff, about the everything, variety.
And so throwing a party, always make sure that there's drinks or food for people to hold, because that helps them not feel so awkward. If you notice, start people watching at a party and notice people clutching their drinks, and people can't actually start talking and interacting until they are holding a drink. It makes you feel safer, and it makes you have something that you can go to. And it also makes you, if the conversation is lulling, say, I'm gonna go get a drink.
Also observe, Lisa and I both are very much people watchers. Also observe when they drink. At what point in the conversation do they take sips? And notice that in yourself too.
Interesting.
Fun little homework thing.
Okay. I know that I take sips when I'm feeling awkward. So
Well, this has been fun.
This has been fun. Are you ready to go cook some Friendsgiving?
Oh yeah, speaking of parties and stuff, Lisa is hosting a Friendsgiving today. And so we're about to go cook a bunch of food and go hang out with our friends. And it's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
And not awkward because everyone who's going to be there is incredibly close and wonderful, and it's going to be amazing. So on that note, thank you for listening. Thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Purpose or Delusion. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and also be sure to check out the previous episodes you may have missed. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week.